Hey folks, Professor Johnson here. We're talking about body types. Ready? Dive in. Listen, you know this already, right? You probably can tell what you probably know what your body type is. You may not be able to know what the other ones are, but by the end of this, you'll be able to explain it. And why is this important, right? This is important just like helping your clients understand their fashion personality. Understanding body type make uh, helps you help them make decisions on what they should be wearing and what's most flattering for them to wear as well. And like I said, you probably know your body type. You probably easily describe your body type, but by being able to explain all the other body types out there, again, you're adding to your fashion lexicon, right? And you're showing your expertise that you just don't know what works for you, but why this works for other body types. Okay, so let's dive into our objectives. And I'm going to be moving myself around. Sorry, I said eyelash. I'm going to be moving myself around on this guy. Is going to be moving because this is the way I set the slides. Okay, so let's talk about the objectives, right? So the objectives for this this lecture, for the body types part of the lecture, is we're going to talk about the that's 8, the 4 main body types. There are more than 4, but we're going to talk about the 4 major body types. And then we'll talk about the other 3 body types that are identified specifically by body measurements. Okay, we'll carry out, there is a tracing exercise that we'll do that is going to be in the lecture underneath this video. We'll do that. We're going to talk about proportion and its relationship to the body types. We'll look out, again, there's an exercise that you'll complete, and then we'll list the characteristics of the golden mean ratio of 358, right? So, so this exercise and this exercise, I'm just going to be providing you the information to do them. I'm not going to be grading them. So like, for the fashion personality types, you had your styling activity that was required. So I'm going to say do them because they're going to pop up again later. But for the purpose of this chapter, for this module, they won't be graded, okay? But you will have those activities to work on. All right. So let's dive in. Okay. Before I move forward, let's go back for one slide before we dive into the personality types. Before we dive into the body types, and let's just rest here for a second on this slide. And why are body types important? I mean, it's horrible. It's another classification of beauty, right? Of what body type we are, but we tend to know our bodies from head to toe, right? We know every curve or roundness or flatness or indentation, lumps, bumps, humps, all of them, right? And it's really important that we identify the right type of clothing that will flatter us, right? That'll make us feel like the best version of ourselves, because when we're the best version of ourselves, we feel good about ourselves, we carry ourselves differently, we go out in the world and make our impact differently. So it's really important that you are able to explain to your client how you're going to examine their body from a physical point of view, right? And we are going to talk about male body types in this lecture too. But for women, that body type thing is oftentimes tied to our self-esteem. So I don't want to say necessarily we need to be cautious or careful when we talk about body types, but we need to be able to fully explain to our clients why it's important and why you are going to make selections based on their body type, and why you are going to have measurements, right? And inevitably what happens when people ask questions about our body, we always talk about the things that we don't like, right? This is this, or this is too small, this is too big, this is too wrinkled, too stretched out, too whatever, right? So it is a skill that you're going to have to develop to encourage your clients to talk about their body in a positive manner. And if they're not talking about their body in a positive manner, it's your responsibility to manage them and to and to talk about it in a positive manner, right? So if there's something that they don't like, we're going to accentuate the things that they do like, and we're going to, I don't want to say cover, but we're going to make them feel comfortable with the things that they don't like. So that's why it's really important for us to be able to explain these different types. Okay. The other thing that we need to talk about is normal, right? Or ideal in the fashion industry. When we talk about clothing, right? The word ideal just means different things to different people, right? And there are perfect. I'm doing all these air quotes because they're so-called perfect. There's perfect. There's top, supreme, ultimate, the best, and in fashion, the norm is not realistic for most people, or what we consider the fashion norm is not realistic for most people, right? We know that fashion picks, it's getting better, but fashion picks a type of aesthetic, right? And it tends to be tall and slender, right? Those are the best words that I can say. And then the things that go with it could be different, right? The aesthetics of what the face looks like or what the hair looks like, but tall and slender really is kind of the norm for what looks good in fashion. Like I said, we're getting better, right? Because we're seeing a variety of, we're seeing much more size inclusivity, right? We're seeing more models that look like normal women, right? It's still not the norm. The majority of models don't look like normal women. And it's odd that I say that because I am tall and slender, right? So I know that I'm not the standard size. I'll say that, right? I'm tall and slim, but I do completely understand what it's like to be seen outside the norm. Because at one point I was too thin. I'm a naturally slim person, but at one point I was too thin, just for my height. But anyway, let's moving on. The norm, what's considered standard and average, it's just not, right? What we see, these images that are thrown at her, they're not they're not norms, right? So there's a story that circulated that Oprah Winfrey wanted to, she loved Valentino and she wanted to wear some of his designs, and Valentino said that he would only make things for her if she lost weight and was considered normal in his eyes, right? Crazy but true. So in this discussion of body types, just know that when you're talking to your clients about their types, about their body types, it is a sensitive subject for some people, and this is where you're going to have to develop that skill of being encouraging and nurturing, and by having the fashion lexicon, by having these words to explain why your body is the way your body is. And when we get to, I'm going to save it till we get to the men's body types, but there are 3 words that we're going to use that they just sound so scientific. They are scientific, but that in them sounding scientific, it makes you sound like an expert, right? So you can explain that to them, right? So those are some of the things I want to make sure that we talk about when we talk about body types. And then we just have to remember that throughout history, the ideal body type frame has changed. If you look at ancient sculpture or images in the Renaissance, in the Renaissance period, right? They were voluptuous. Like actually being a heavier woman was a sign of wealth, because it was a sign that you could eat as much as you want to eat. You could be a glutton, right? So there have been times when a more Rubenesque frame has been the fashion norm. There have been times when the super pinch waist, when we talk about corsets, right? There have been times with the really flat bosom has been in style. There's been times when the really big bosom. There's been time the bustle was all about making your hips and your butt look bigger. So all those things are important. So let's just keep in mind that fashion does change, and the body types don't change, but how they're recognized will change over time. So it's really important that that. So, like I said, at this point, we definitely know that size inclusivity is becoming more of the norm. And as a stylist, you will have the words to explain to your clients that their body type is a norm, right? I hate to say it. That's why they're 7 different body types, because they're normal, right? It's just what the fashion industry sees as most beautiful. These air quotes are killing me. All right. And let's be clear. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has said the average U.S. woman is 5'4" and weighs 163 pounds. And that is far from the average supermodel size. So, what's considered normal, right? The average American woman is not considered normal. So those are some of the things that I want you to think about. We really are in a society now where more than ever curves are in, right? Sucks for me because I'm not that, right? Not really, but curves are in, right? And maybe fashion just hasn't completely caught up with it, right? Curves really are in. The demographic of sizing is changing, and what designers are open and willing to do has changed drastically. Okay, all right. So let's move forward to the first slide on body types, and then we will. See, I'm at the 11-minute mark. I'm going to move on to the first slide for a second. I don't make these longer than 15. I'll move on to the first slide on body types, and then we're going to be on the slide for a while. Okay. So let's move on to the first things on body types. And one of the things that I'm going to include for you is a test for your clients. It's known as a body scrutiny test, and it just helps you learn what your client will like. It will give you some descriptors of body types, and there's just a handful of questions that you will ask your clients. And again, these are things that you'll do for yourself, but your clients need to understand that you have this knowledge behind you. So, okay, so the 4 major body types, right? There, 4 major body types are here. They are rectangle, triangle, inverted triangle, or hourglass. Inverted triangle is sometimes also referred to as a pear shape. So you may have not heard inverted triangle. You may have heard pear shapes. But to look for us and for our clients to look at ourselves objectively, we need to be able to view our bodies from all angles, right? Front, back, right, side to side, and to draw our bodies on a piece of paper. This is part of what you'll have your client do on a piece of paper, like stick figures, right? And then understand what form we are based on that stick figure, right? So when we draw, if we were to draw an outline of our body, are we a rectangle? Right? Are we a rectangle? Are we just kind of tubular, like boxy on top and boxy on bottom, right? With not much of a waist. Are we just, a sausage casing, right? Rectangle, right? Are we, an inverted, I said those backwards. When I said inverted triangle, it's not pear-shaped. Triangle is pear-shaped. Are we an inverted triangle? So are we very broad on top and narrow on the bottom, right? Are we a pear shape, right, which is a triangle? So are we heavy on the bottom and then narrow on the top, or are we an hourglass? So wide, narrow at the waist, and then wider again